to Where Are They Now? Quarantine Edition from Wild Horse Productions. I am Carol Scott, Executive Director of Wild Horse Productions, and with me today is Colton Brodeur, who is one of our alumni. Oh, how far back are we going, Colton?
And there goes the wind. It's been a lot of years. I can't remember exactly what year it was that I started, but I was like 12, I think. So
okay.
13 years or so, something like that.
Right. So where are you now, Colton, in quarantine, and where do you usually live? Because I know you're not usually in this area.
Right. Yeah, at the moment I am holed up with some friends in Reno. We all agreed to quarantine together just to sort of make the situation a little more bearable. But normally I live in LA, East Hollywood specifically, which is not nearly as glamorous as it sounds. Yeah, it's a very different vibe here in Reno, especially when everybody has to stay inside. But it is nice to be in this area.
I'm glad you're here and not in LA, because the big city is where you don't want to be at this moment.
Definitely.
I know that you were working in tech with Wild Horse, and I think if I remember correctly, we dragged you on stage and had you play some parts. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Wild Horse?
Sure, yeah. I was, literally forced by my dad to do the first show. It's like the one thing he ever forced me to do, and I'm really grateful he did. He forced me to tech High School Musical, which is a 12-year-old, 13-year-old little goth kid. What sounded like the end of the world to me. But I did it, and it completely changed my life. I immediately met some really stellar people, and it set me on the path that would just sort of determine the rest of my life and my career. And I had the privilege, yes, to be on stage a few times with you guys, but I did primarily work tech, and that remains true to this day. I work professionally as a technician at an acting conservatory called AMDA. Well, I got laid off, but theoretically they'll be hiring us back after all this is over. And then I haven't been on stage since college, but I did do some performing in college, which was a lot of fun. I majored in theater, but I still perform a little bit as I do some voice acting, and I work on some podcasts, and occasionally I do spoken word poetry.
So as a person who took the tech track, did you take a tech track, or where did you go to college, and what major did you major in theater?
I went to Diablo Valley College in Pleasant Hill, in the sort of the Bay Area of California. It's actually, even though I think it's technically like a community college, but it has one of the largest prosceniums on the West Coast. So I had the privilege to work on this really, really massive theater. And so I was a theater major. It wasn't like specifically tech or acting. I did quite a bit of both. I took a lot of acting classes and really enjoyed that. And I took a few like directing classes. And then there weren't a lot of actual like tech classes. There were some lighting classes and like vocab classes, but my specialty has always been in sound. So there wasn't really a sound mixing for live theater class or anything like that, but I ended up doing the sound design and mixing most of the shows that went on while I was in school. So I really had the opportunity to sort of try the whole variety of theater. I got to do a little bit of everything, which was really cool.
That's great. That's great. It's a great career path. I always tell the kids that the people in the tech track are the ones that are really working and making money. It's so hard to be an actor because there's so many of those. And when we were at a workshop in New York, actually, the backstage manager came and talked to us and told us about all the tech jobs. So I think that's a really smart career path for people who don't want to be on stage. Although you were great on stage too, Colton. I really enjoyed you on stage. So what was one of your favorite roles in Wild Horse when you were on stage?
So I think if I recall correctly, I only had two. I think I was Jafar, and then I was the wizard in Once Upon a Mattress. And if I had to choose between those two, I think Jafar would have been my favorite. It was my first time on stage, which was nerve-wracking, or my first prolonged role on stage anyway. But I got to work with some of my closest friends, who have remained my closest friends to this day. I think I sent you a picture of Melody and I. She was my Iago, and that was it was just such a cool pairing. It always felt like I had sort of a safety blanket on stage having her around. So that was for sure my favorite of the shows that I was in.
You were a great Jafar. I remember you being very terrifying.
Yeah, I do recall the largest criticism being I was perhaps too villainous, comparatively, but
maybe you can't be too villainous. So I've been
Yes.
asking everyone if they have a crazy or funny story about what happened on stage or backstage. Do you have anything you would like to share? The stories I'm getting are things that Alan, Robin, and I probably don't want to hear, but what do you have to share with us?
I have two. I have one from Wild Horse and then one from college. But at Wild Horse, I had the privilege of doing the live audio mixing for High School Musical 2. And at one point during one of the performances, in the middle of a song, the board died and the music stopped right in the middle of the song. And I panicked, but everybody on stage kept singing. They were perfectly on time. I was blown away by those folks on stage who just truly, it was to this day one of the best examples of rolling with things that happen in live theater. Stuff happens and you just have to go with it. So that was amazing. And then less amazing, but equally interesting. When I was in college, I was actually bit by a black widow. And so I was horribly ill. But there was a show that I was doing in college that was sort of relying on me to be there. I was filling several roles. I was sort of an assistant stage manager, but also a sound guy. It was a whole thing. But when I got there, it turned out that one of the actors hadn't showed up because she unexpectedly had a relative die, unfortunately, which was really sad. So I, heinously ill, went on stage and performed her role as the detective, which was fortunately a pretty gender-neutral role. So yeah, that's probably still the craziest thing I've done for theater. I've gone on stage after suffering a poisonous spider bite. And,
right. The magic of live theater, the things that we have to do.
Yeah,
did you
man.
go on? Were you on book or did you know the part already?
So fortunately it wasn't a very big role. It was a 6 degrees of separation? Yeah. And the detective is a fairly small role. So I would hop off stage, read the lines that I needed to do next, keep those in my mind, repeat them over and over until I had to go on, say them, go off and read them, and just kind of tried to do that a little bit of Simon Says with the script.
That's great. I think the audience doesn't realize how frequently those things happen and how people are thrown onto stage sometimes to do a role, or all kinds of tech things happen backstage that they don't know about, things breaking or crashing, or it's just amazing. And especially in children's theater, because these are kids, but they are troopers. And we have had that happen more than once, where music, for some reason, has stopped and they have gone on. And I know how you felt, because it had me in tears once when it happened during another one of our shows that the kids just kept going. So do you have a dream role that you would like to do, or a dream job that you would like to do since you're in tech right now?
Yeah, honestly, my sort of, I was fortunate enough to sort of succeed in my aspirations to be a professional technician, which has been really great. But as such, my goals have shifted somewhat, actually more towards performing, and specifically voice acting. I've really been pursuing that quite a bit. So as far as dream roles go, if I were ever to get on stage again, I would love to do Sweeney Todd. It would be amazing, because that's always been my favorite show. But my more shall we say practical dream job is not that it's impractical, just that I'm not really much of a stage actor. Anyway, voice acting is what I want to do ultimately for video games and stuff. It's always been,
Oh, that's
like,
great.
geeky culture has always been a big part of my life, and that's a huge aspect.
And you're in LA, so that's
Yeah.
you're in a good place now to kind of pursue that too. Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing your dreams come true.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I've been kind of putting everybody on the spot with showing us some of their talents, and I know you don't want to sing for us.
No, I leave that to my dad usually. Yeah.
But I do know that you have a lot of other talents, Colton, because I have been following you. I follow everybody on Facebook, and I know that you are a poet and a writer. So is there something you would like to share with us?
Sure. Yeah. This is a poem. And forgive me, I have to read it. I'm terrible at memorizing things. Another reason that I probably shouldn't be a theater actor. But yeah, this is something I wrote a few years ago, sort of right when I had started in LA. I was sort of battling like what it meant to be an artist in like a big city, and you know, how to stay motivated and all that. So here it goes. Let me fall like Icarus, propelled into the highest heights of aspiration. Let me fall in a ball of passion, and when I hit the ground, let me bounce that much higher. Let me reach the sun again and burn the flesh from my weary bones. Let me put my black blood to the paper until all that remains is sheer force of will. I will be an avatar for art, nothing but bloody word and burnt black bones. Let my father be proud of the broken man he created and the scorch mark I left on the earth. Let the angels scoff at what they see as a failure. I've always looked better in black. Let my loves revel in the ashes of my catastrophe, because they know, like they've always known, that I was never whole and only ever flint and tinder. And when the smoke clears, see that I stand purged, that the sun never had the power to strike down the dreamers, and the moon will smile upon me as she always had, shaking her head at the thought of it all. Please, God, let me fall like Icarus.
Oh, that is lovely, Colton.
Thank you.
That was very profound.
Yeah,
That's
it gets a little heady for sure, but
that's
yeah.
lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us and with our young actors. And speaking of our young actors, I'm doing this series so that they can kind of get a look at what our alumni are doing and where they've gone in the world and what paths they've taken. Everyone has diverged into different paths. Any advice you would give to our young actors that are watching this today?
Yeah, forgive me again because I actually wrote this down too because I didn't want to forget. Well, as far as like theater actors go, my advice mostly is just to be nice to everybody, be friendly to literally everyone, because that's honestly how you're going to get more work and more roles. Is like, if people know you to be a nice person, they're going to want to work with you. They'll say good things about you to other people. That much is important. But when it comes to like being an artist and life advice in general, a big one is keep your friends close. You'll find if they're artists as well that they sort of will propagate your art and catalyze your work. You know, try everything. Like if anything that you've never tried before, be it a medium of art or just like an experience that's always sort of been in the back of your head, try everything. Even if you don't like whatever it is, it will you'll learn something about yourself, and that will affect your art in a really positive way. It will allow you to sort of approach things more genuinely, just through your varied experiences.
That's
what I would
awesome.
say.
That's awesome advice. That's totally awesome advice. And it is true that, you know, you have to have your passion out there and share it with the world, but with your friends also. And I think the being nice thing is so important, especially today, you know, in the world the way it is, and there's so much stress and conflict right now in the world. So I will take that advice to heart also. Colton, thank you for talking to us and sharing your poetry and your wisdom about working in the theater and the arts, and you're still doing it. So we will be watching you, and hopefully we'll hear you in a voiceover one day. Just keep us posted on everything, and please tell your family hi from us at Wild Horse when you guys grow up and go away. You know, we don't see our family members that we love so much, although your dad has been involved in our
Yes.
upcoming show of Heathers. So
I know, I was so excited to see it. And I still
we're-
am excited.
we
When it does
will.
happen, I'll be so excited.
It is postponed, but we're going to find a date for it. Those actors are going to be seen because they are
Yes,
amazing
for
and
sure.
the show is amazing. So again, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing with us, and hopefully we'll see you soon on stage.
I hope so. All right.
Thanks, Colton.
Thank you. I love you, Carol.
Love you too. Bye.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Where are they now? Quarantine edition.